State Auditor Rob Sand is a Democrat, which is why just yesterday, the state's Republican governor, Kim Reynolds, signed a bill, you'll never guess what, stripping the auditor of many of his authorities as an elected official. In a statement after the signing, Sand called the legislation, quote, the worst pro-corruption bill in Iowa history. And Iowa State Auditor Rob Sand joins me now. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Before we get to the bill,
yeah,
I want to ask you a political question. It's like, what's your secret sauce?
Oh.
I mean, in a state, it does stick out to one, right? In a state that has trended Republican.
Yeah, I think if you look, this is like baseball. Every year, you're going to have a team with a great record, but they won a lot of close games. And then you're also going to have a team with a mediocre record, but they lost a lot of close games.
Yeah.
Iowa Democrats are better than their record looks.
Interesting.
If you look at statewide races in Iowa, 48.7% of Iowans actually voted for at least 3 Democrats for statewide office. So there's still a lot of people in the state who will split their ticket. We had, more people who split their ticket in Iowa for Democrats than any other competitive state in the entire country.
Huh.
Yeah. And so I look at it and I say, I'm not a unicorn. I actually think Iowa...
You got some good breaks.
Yeah,
in tight races. I mean, obviously, Iowa has been a swing state traditionally. What does this bill now signed into law by the governor do? What does it mean for your office as state auditor?
Yeah, it's a great question. Bottom line is it makes it so that state agencies, as long as the governor agrees, can hide documents from the auditor's office.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I know. I feel like I should apologize for laughing, but I've been dealing with this for so long, and it is comically...
You are the state auditor.
Yeah, it's comically corrupt, So what they can do is, instead of us going to courts, and that's what I think is actually a really interesting wrinkle here, this isn't just an attack on a Democrat, it's an attack on the independent court system in Iowa, because they have removed from the court's jurisdiction the ability to decide whether or not the auditor's office should get a document. They took that ability away from the court.
So it used to be the case. So not every state has a state auditor, but
right.
What's your role pre this legislation?
Easiest way to describe it is taxpayers' watchdog. We do financial audits. We do public corruption investigations, which fits great with my background. I'd been a public corruption prosecutor at the AG's office before. And then
you did that lottery case? Did you use the lottery case?
Yes, uncovered the largest lottery rigging scheme in American history. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
And then we also do efficiency promotion. And so that's kind of our 3 things that we work on. That's what the office has traditionally done.
And it's been there this is not some newfangled innovation in Iowa law.
No. The office is a constitutional office. It has been here as long as Iowa has existed. The only real difference is, in my first term, we set a record for how much waste, fraud, and abuse was uncovered. I think some people didn't like that.
And so they got together and they passed legislation. I think it was, I saw basically a party-line vote in both houses.
We had 6 House Republicans who voted against it.
Right.
And I want to say that because that's important. It's tough to stand up against that party these days. They expect, exacting following.
And so they pass this thing. So now if you want documents from an agency, you can't go to court to get them if they deny you.
Right. Instead, we go to a 3-person arbitration panel, which has 1 person from the agency, 1 person from our office, and a 2nd person who's appointed by the governor.
This is like the amount of process you get as like an employee, when you're, like, it's not real courts. It's like, okay, I guess you seem like a very sort of glass is always half full sort of individual.
I try to be.
I can hear it.
It's hard.
I think the voters of Iowa probably appreciate that. I mean, to me, this looks like just a blatantly partisan and cynical move by them, right? So you're saying there's 2 things. One, substantively, we uncovered waste, fraud, and abuse, and they don't like that. But it also seems to me, and we've seen in other states, it's like, there's 1 Democrat elected, like, we don't want to give that guy any power.
Right. And I think that's undeniably part of it. I think the really zoom out bigger picture is there's a handful of people who control legislation in the state of Iowa, control Iowa government. And this little group of insiders doesn't want someone in the auditor's office who's actually really serious about doing the job. And it's easy for the rest of the party to go along with something corrupt because I'm on the other side, right?
And so it's like, do you want that guy having the power to take documents for the Attorney General's office?
That's right.
Right.
And so they can get their, not all, but most of their legislators to go along with it because I have a blue shirt on instead of a red shirt.
Do you think that, I mean, Wisconsin had tried to do this with their AG. There were certain, I don't know if you follow this, Josh Call, who's the AG in Wisconsin. I think there were some attempts, and maybe one or two that were successful, of removing certain powers he had. He's a Democrat elected statewide. Do you think this sticks with the job? Do you think it, like, if you lose, that they have, like, a snapback bill where they say, like, guess what? The auditor now has his power back.
Yeah, probably. But I don't know if they would even... I think that they have so much trust in whoever that little group of insiders would get into this office if I were not in it,
right,
that they wouldn't carry their way. Because at the end of the day, it's about making it harder to find waste, fraud, and abuse because they don't want accountability.
Yeah. And
because I happen to be a Democrat, it's easier to get the rest of the legislature, though not all of it, to go along with it.
Iowa State Auditor Rob Sand. Well, it's a wild story, and I really appreciate you coming in to talk to us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
All right.